The 2023 NBA draft has been talked about to death at this point by countless YouTubers and talking heads on TV. And this is for a very good reason. In case you have not heard, this year's number one overall pick has been labeled by many as the greatest draft prospect since LeBron James 20 years ago. And of course, I know you've heard that a few times over the past few years, but this time, for real. This player's name is Victor Wembanyama. Victor grew up in and played professionally last year in France with the Metropolitan 92s of the highest domestic league within the country. Here he led the Mets to a 23-11 record, good enough for the second place ranking in the league. He was named the league MVP, Best Young Player Award, Best Defensive Player Award, Best Scorer Award, Best Shot Blocker Award, and of course made the All-League First Team. He took home pretty much all the hardware. And though this is not Europe's highest level of competition, the EuroLeague, there do exist two EuroLeague teams within this domestic league. Asvel, who tied the Mets in the standings, and Monaco, who finished first in the league. So there does exist plenty of near NBA talent across the schedule, whereas oftentimes on the NCAA route, which is the path most elite American prospects take, they maybe get a small handful of NBA talent opponents in a regular season, and none of these opponents are actually physically at the NBA level yet, as they're all 19 to 22 year olds. This is a huge benefit to watching Wembanyama play in France over the NCAA. Many of his opponents have fully developed bodies and actual basketball skills. Everything he did over there was earned based on on-court production, not high school mixtapes carrying him. So what has this year of him playing in such a competitive league shown us? For starters, I think the first point of discussion on him as a prospect has to revolve around his unreal size. Wembanyama has not yet officially been measured, but we do have some photos and videos of him standing next to known players who currently are in the league and have gone up against the tape. I believe this photo here is the best example demonstrating how massive Victor truly is. This picture was taken in 2021 when Victor was only 17, so today, at 19, there's a small chance he might be a little bit bigger, although most people do stop growing by 17. We have Miami Heat player Nikola Jovic, I don't know, he barely plays. He is confirmed to be 6'10". Then standing right next to Victor is the itty-bitty Detroit Piston Jaden Ivey at 6'4". And the tall guy on the right you see is easily recognizable as Chet Holmgren, the second overall pick in last year's draft, who did miss the entirety of last season with a foot injury. He's 7'1". Now Chet's slouching a little bit, as he is one to do, so it makes gauging his size 100% kind of difficult. But if you look at the guy in the all gray, that's Zach Edey. He's a fellow 2023 draft candidate, and he's from Canada, and I really like him. Edey dominated the NCAA this past year thanks to his massive size and his very impressive skills. Edey is a legitimate 7'4". Now, he might be measured at 7'3", I don't know, but he's somewhere around that height. Then we finally get to Victor, which it's hard to say with confidence, but if I had to guess, I would put Victor somewhere between 7'3" and 7'5", which is absolutely ridiculous. People love to throw around the unicorn label on anything 7 feet or taller that can dribble and shoot, but I think Victor is truly the rightful owner of that label from now on. Offensively, Wembanyama displayed an NBA-ready game overseas this past year. His ability to create shots over literally anyone is the thing of nightmares for the opposition. If you try to not match, but get close to his size, Victor will just take people off the dribble or push them way out to the three-point line and make them uncomfortable. If you try to put smaller defenders on him who can move a little better, Victor's way bigger and he knows how to use his size offensively down low. There's really no good way to guard him reliably. You just basically have to hope he misses shots, or you send double teams his way and hope he can't pass out of it. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but Victor has a bag like some of the greatest NBA players in the league. He has a Dirk fadeaway, a Kevin Durant face-up pull-up, and he has a Giannis big step drive-by and finish. He has a full repertoire of moves that he is not afraid to pull from. And speaking of finishing at the rim, Victor is one of the best dunkers I have ever seen. Being so incredibly tall with an unknown monstrous wingspan, it appears he can dunk the ball without even leaving his tippy toes, a la Boban Marjanovic or Taco Fall. But unlike those two, Victor runs like a giraffe. Now, I didn't say gazelle. People who are saying he runs like a gazelle are being a little too dramatic. He's not as agile as a guard. He's not a guard. He's not a small forward. But he does run very well relative to a lot of centers, especially guys who are as big as him. Boban, Taco, but even guys like Joel Embiid I don't think run as well as Victor. Nikola Jokic doesn't run as well as Victor. Another thing I want to emphasize that I want to show my appreciation towards is his ultra aggressiveness when it comes to finishing plays inside. There has become a tendency in recent years for taller guys to opt for baby hooks and floaters in unnecessary moments. DeAndre Ayton of the Suns is the biggest culprit of this who I can think of. Victor is the exact opposite of Ayton. He wants to dunk everything and everyone knows it and they can't stop him. The best comparison I can think of is a young Kristaps Porzingis. Go ahead and look it up if you don't remember, or maybe you're too young to remember. But there was a time where Porzingis struck fear in the entire league thanks to his unreal size and extreme aggressiveness. Porzingis used to attack the rim with complete disregard for human life, including his own. And it is this aggressiveness that has helped him get to the line as much as he did this past year. Wembanyama shot 6 free throws a game in a league where physicality is often allowed far beyond what the NBA deems as acceptable. At the foul line, you have to also give credit to his efficiency. Victor is only 19 years old and he's ginormous, yet he shot 83% from the free throw line. That's really stinking good. But basketball is played on both ends of the floor, and defensively you cannot give Victor enough praise. Not only does he have the unreal size and length that makes guys like Rudy Gobert, Anthony Davis, and Mo Bamba look normal, he is actually willing to use it. He keeps his hands up, he moves his feet all the way out to the perimeter, and he blocks shots against everyone. It kind of reminds me of a college version of a pre-injury Bull. He swallows up anything anyone tries to squeak over him. And even more impressively is his defensive IQ, which of course the game is admittedly slower in Europe, so we will have to see how it translates to the NBA, but at least so far he has done a very good job showing that he knows how to rotate over and help from the weak side and contest shots. Another good thing that you have to pay attention to in Wembanyama is he can test shots up high. He doesn't go for people's hands. That's a way he can avoid a lot of fouls. I like to think of Bismack Biyombo as a good example of a kind of a guy he plays like. And I know you're thinking, Bismack Biyombo, what kind of comparison is that? Specifically with weak side rim protection, that's what I'm talking about. Victor averaged 3.1 blocks per game in France this past year. In the longer and faster paced playstyle of the NBA game, that number could easily have translated to over 4. Victor moves his feet well, he gets in the passing lanes, and he knows where to be and when to be there, and he's only 19 years old. I think he has the tools to be the best defensive player in all of the NBA. But it is never all sunshine and rainbows, unfortunately. Victor, like every prospect before him, is not a perfect player. For starters, we have to acknowledge the fact that he shot 28% from 3 this past year on 5 attempts per game. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to jump into this negative section and offer some defense for Vic. Bless his teammates' hearts, they're all doing their absolute best, but the Mets running around Wembanyama do not have nearly the gravity anyone in the NBA has. Victor's defender never had much reason to leave his hip, which forced Victor to take some pretty difficult, pretty deep shots that maybe aren't the best. I think in an actual NBA game, where players are forced to sag off a little bit because you have a fellow NBA player driving the lane or something, it's going to help Victor create space. It's going to help Victor get higher percentage shots. A guy I want to talk about is LaMelo Ball. People were kind of critical of LaMelo when he was going into the league, claiming he was a shot chucker and he was extremely inefficient. But he was playing in the NBL, a league full of grown men, but not the best of shooters relative to NBA standards. Then he gets to the NBA, and all of a sudden LaMelo Ball becomes a great three-point shooter. I think that's going to happen here with Victor. I think he's going to get into the league, and you're going to notice a dramatic improvement in his three-point shooting. But We still have to acknowledge Victor's sometimes one-dimensional view of offense. He wants to score everything. He has the confidence that you'd love to see, but his offensive IQ has yet to quite match the level. This past year, when double-teamed or just in tough spots in general, it would do him better if he would pass the ball out of those situations and move to a better spot than just force up a bad shot or commit a turnover as a last-ditch resort. Understanding when he should create and when he should defer and relocate is something that a good coaching staff will definitely help him develop. And I think the San Antonio Spurs are going to be perfect for this sort of thing. Victor is going to learn the best ways to score and make life easier for himself and his teammates in San Antonio, and it is going to be awesome to watch. And lastly, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. I have been giving Victor a ton of praise for his God-given ability of just being a big human. But there is a reason human beings aren't that big. There have been many legendary tall basketball players over the years. You've got the uber well-known guys like Yao Ming, Sean Bradley, Ralph Sampson, Zydrunas Ilgauskas, Kristaps Porzingis, Bol, just to name a few. And those guys all do have a very varying level of play style. Some of them play around the perimeter, some of them play with their back to the basket. But something that every single one of them has is a common feature in the fact that they have severe and chronic lower body injuries. Wishful thinking and praying is nice and all, but at the end of the day, the human body is only able to carry so much mass. Victor is pushing that to its absolute extreme. Here's a fun fact for you. Sultan Kosin is the planet's tallest human being. He was at one time a semi-professional basketball player. He had the dream of playing in the NBA. He was even in the NBA draft. One year he didn't get picked. The reason for this is because his extreme height limited his physical health so extremely. He was never able to work himself into a professional basketball level form. Now, yes, I do realize that Kosin is 8'2". And that is very different from Victor, who is about 7'5" on the high side. But what about Kristaps Porzingis? Porzingis was 7'3", and for a few years he was definitely amazing. He was what we hope Victor Wembanyama can be. But then Porzingis got hurt, and because of that, Porzingis had to change the way he plays. And for quite a while, people completely forgot about him. Now he has made a bit of a return recently, but he doesn't play the way he used to play. Bol's another guy who's confidently smaller than Victor at 7'2", but Bol, due to injuries, barely played for 3 straight seasons, and honestly at this point it still looks like he has 1 foot out of the league. He can't even play with the Orlando Magic, a team that was tanking. All these unicorns really never work out. People this big just don't have long NBA careers, and the ones who do play a very different play style to the way that Victor plays. Boban has hung around a very long time. He's in his 30s, but Boban doesn't do very much. He checks in the game for 4 minutes, maybe gets a dunk, and that's that. Victor's going to play 35 plus minutes a game, run up and down the floor, and do a lot of creating with the ball and put himself into a lot of situations where he could get hurt. I hate saying it, but if you watch highlight videos of Victor doing stuff, especially his jump shots, every single jump shot, watch how he lands. He lands in front of him, and that is just so dangerous when you are as tall and as long as he is, because the defensive player is never trying to hurt the offensive player. I shouldn't say never, but usually not trying to hurt the offensive player, but it happens still. And if you're jumping forward a foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, like he does that stupid one-legged running three-point shot, which is just terrible, he is going to roll his ankle. When you roll your ankle at 7'5", that could be career ending. Let's not forget about Zion Williamson, the guy everyone was hyping up to be the next LeBron James a few years ago. He was a unicorn, remember him? Well, he's sat out 188 of his possible 302 games of his career so far due to injuries that were very foreseen. Everyone thought they were going to happen, but people were just saying, you shouldn't talk about that. You just got to be optimistic and think about what he could be. Well, what Wembanyama could be is the greatest player of all time, but what history tells me is players that are built not even at the level, but just within a few inches away, they don't work out. Why do we think Wembanyama is going to work out? We're just hoping. He could be the greatest bust of all time. or he could be the greatest player of all time. I don't think there's a lot of in between, unfortunately. I'm not saying all this to make anyone fearful of drafting Victor Wembanyama. I'm just saying it because that's what I'm seeing. I want to lay it all out on the line for you all. I do think Victor is going to go number 1 overall, and I'm very happy that I'm not the guy who has to draft him and has to roll the dice of luck and see if we deal with any injuries or not. Victor is going to be the best player in the league if he stays healthy. Thank you guys for watching the video. Let me know some other prospects you're interested in learning about. Comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.